Let's get started. So we have, we can talk about Piazza. Let's see if Piazza's going to not dox anybody today. Of course it did. Fuck you, Piazza. Well, I can't use Piazza because just work. I don't even understand that. Like, why? Piazza doesn't, I think I already ranted about this, but Piazza doesn't, you can post anonymously, but you're not anonymous to instructors, unless I put the full anonymous mode on, which I'll never do that. So how am I supposed to pull up Piazza during lecture? Because it doxes everybody who posted anonymously. Like, what am I supposed to do there? Is that just not a use case that they expect me to have, to open Piazza during lecture? It's, I did make an extension, but my extension isn't working. So I'm partly mad at myself, too, because my code's buggy. But the extension's supposed to be hiding my name. The fact that my name shows up means it's not doing its thing. But it was right before I left my house. It's running my Piazza extension. So I don't know what I'm doing, what happened that's different here. I mean, that can be just part of lecture. I built the extension during a lecture, so maybe I can fix it during a lecture, which is relevant to what I want to do today. So let's start there. Let's do this so we can talk about the Piazza thing. So let's do my Piazza extension. I've been meaning to update this anyway. I got my Piazza extension, which just looks for any element that's do I just paste the same thing multiple times? Oh my goodness. Why did I do this so hacky? That was my fix? Jesse, come on. And I did this during a lecture, so that must have been my answer during lecture. So we're looking for any element that contains somebody's name. So I looked through the HTML of Piazza and figured out what it looks like when I can do this with my own name. What it looks like, so if there's a data ID attribute that says contributors, that means that that's going to contain somebody's name, and I just want to straight up remove that element. So if I find data ID with a value of contributors, then I'm going to get rid of it. And I'm actually going to get rid of the entire span that it's contained in, so there's no information. Just delete the whole element. But I think this is the way Piazza uses a lot of AJAX calls. So what's happening is I believe that AJAX calls are firing off, then my code runs, and then the AJAX calls come back, and then populates the page. So I think it's a timing issue. My solution of just pasting this however many times, that's awful. I feel bad that I ever did that. So let's do this a better way. We're going to wrap this up in a function. Function doesn't need any parameters. It will need a name. Function do the thing. I should display better practices. Remove names. And then set interval. Let me just have this run every so often. So set interval, and this is only local. It's not making any network calls or anything. So I feel like I can have this running fairly often. And every time somebody makes a new post, it'll pop up and my extension won't run again. So let's get this just running all the time. So let's say remove names. Is 100 too much? Let's do 200. So every 200 milliseconds, it's going to run my function. So now instead of having it pasted a whole bunch of times, we're just going to have JavaScript call my function 5 times per second. Then we're going to go to Opera. I'm going to manage my extensions. Go to make Piazza private, which has errors. Oh no. That's why. Did this literally, they just made this change, didn't they? Or not just made it. I know what happened. That's why this broke. That's why my other thing broke. So I restarted my laptop. Well, my laptop restarted without my consent the other day. And when it restarted, it updated all my browsers. And I guess we're on the other side of that manifest version 3, aren't we? That manifest version 2 is deprecated in Chromium browsers. That means it's time for me to switch to Firefox. So let's update our manifest. That's why my Spotify wasn't working the other day too. So let's change this to 3. No, yeah. But Spotify I have running in Firefox, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But it did have a hiccup. So let's change that to 3. I'm not using anything that was deprecated, I don't believe. And I believe everything formatting-wise is the same. So let's just change that. Refresh it. Go to Piazza, reload. Man, we're living it. We're in manifest version 3 now. And my name's gone, so we should be good here. Okay, so now I'm removing all the names. All right, let's take a look at the suggestions. So we have this vote on topics. This is what we'll talk about next week. And we actually got to talk about some front-end stuff, which is going to be the topic of the day. Let's see what the top things are. I already looked at these, so I'll highlight the top ones. Showcasing the external libraries that do what we did on the homework. So the idea with the course is you don't use libraries on your homework, and then for the project you use libraries. So I'd be showcasing, this translates into showcasing libraries that you can use on your project, which I'm fine to do. That got a lot of votes, so looks like that's something we'll be doing. I'll take some web frameworks. I have to decide if I want to use ones that a lot of you will use on your project or not. I probably will. Flask, there's a reason it's popular. I like it. It's nice. So I'll probably end up using Flask and probably Express, so I can get some Python and JavaScript in there. If you want to see other specific ones and you want to vote on them, I'll do that. But displaying some web frameworks, I'll build an app. Maybe I'll build like the homework app, what we do on homework, but with a web framework. I think that's something that probably should just be part of the course eventually. It used to be, and then I removed it. I think I should just add that back. Because right now, it's I just put you out on your own for the project and say read documentation and figure it out. But I think I can add that back as part of the course. Problem is those lectures are kind of boring because it's pretty easy to use the framework, reading the documentation and just going through. So I don't have... I shouldn't say boring lectures, but I don't have a whole lot to explain. Like, there's not a lot of meat there. I'm like, now you just call this method and the library does it for you. And then you call this method and the library does it for you. So I don't have any explanation to give. But I'll be happy to do it for at least one lecture. But I used to do it for like a week, and it got really boring. There will be lecture questions next week, but not during presentations. So... we can mark that as resolved. DDoS attacks. I haven't done this before in a lecture, so this will be a fun one for me to prepare. It's getting a lot of votes, so it looks like I'll have to do it. So that'll be a fun one for me to prepare. I haven't really done it before, and depending on how it turns out next week, maybe that'll be another thing that gets added permanently to the course. So with web sections, we did get to do a little bit of it at least. Oops. Just now. Let's talk about politics. I'm glad to see that's not getting votes because I don't know how to do that in appropriately in an academic setting. How to write tests. I would like to do this. This is something that should be a bigger part of the course as well. Every once in a while, I have something where I say, this you can test it like this, and I have a few things that I mention. I think that should be a bigger part of the course. I'm even leaning as far. I have opinions on this one. Upvote them if you really want to get a whole lecture of this. I think leaning towards it requiring testing in 312. Right now, the only course that requires testing is 116, which is historic. That's not just because I teach 116, by the way. I'm not like the testing guy. I'm starting to be just because 116 is starting to consume me. But whoever teaches 116, it's their job to introduce teaching to the students, and that's just been me for a while. But I am starting to think of doing it in 312 as well, and I might start pushing that more courses require testing, because we force you to test in 116. Everybody kind of struggles. I shouldn't say struggles, but like kind of grins through it and says, "Oh, this sucks. I hate testing." And then after 116, nobody else forces you to do testing, and most of you just don't do testing ever again. I feel like I shouldn't say nobody, but I feel like very few students internalize what we're showing you in 116 and then actually use it to save yourself time in other courses. I've seen so many students in this class who spent 10 plus hours on one part of one assignment, or if they just spent 10 minutes writing up a test case, they wouldn't have spent any time. They would have spent that 10 minutes, the test case would have said, "Here's your bug," and then you would have fixed it and it would have been done. But at the same time, I don't show you enough of that in lecture, so I think I have to start going more that route of hand-holding, forcing you, like showing you how to do testing. And some of the testing described here, I don't show at all in lecture, integration testing and things like that. Like the only thing we show you in 116 is unit testing, and it's hard to apply that to a web app. So something I'm thinking about for the future. If this does get more votes, if you are interested in that stuff, I'd like to see that get more votes, and I'll kind of prepare a sample of what I want to do moving forward. How to hack a government database? I mean, to 220, 250 also have tests as grades? Is that true? Like you write tests and they grade your tests? Oh, I got to look at what they're doing. I thought they didn't grade your tests. I thought they put you in a situation where you pretty much had to write your tests but didn't grade them directly. I'll have to talk to... Oh, 220 has a single one. Because I feel like Ethan would have talked about that if he was grading your tests. I thought he had... No, I've heard about this. I was just talking to a TA about this. He does... In 250 new this semester? Okay, that's why I don't know about it yet. And that's with the... Because we have a different 250 instructor this semester, right? I'll have to look into that. That's something I'll look into some other time. But that's fantastic to hear. How to hack into governmental databases? I mean, if I knew how, I'd be changing some numbers. I don't know if I'm qualified to teach this, aside from just the overall security stuff that we've talked about. How do we? This one, I don't fully understand the question, I guess, or the comment, which it might be why this one hasn't gotten any upvotes. How to utilize Docker containers if we want to use it for concurrency? You do use it for concurrency this semester. To get WebSockets working, you had to use concurrency. It's already concurrent. In your database is concurrent. All the communication in your database, it's all concurrent already. So I'm not sure exactly what you're getting at with that one. Hosting a Minecraft server, this has a lot of upvotes. I kind of... my hands might be tied on that one. Doing a Minecraft server with Docker. A demo of how to prepare statements. If I do some other, I mean, this didn't get traction, so I'm not going to end up covering it anyway unless something really big happens over the weekend and the next week. But yeah, I never actually showed a SQL injection attack, but if you're not using prepared statements, you're using string concatenation, there are lots of examples. I assume these slides will have one. Oh yeah, that's Matt's 442 slides. We'll have an example of that. WebAssembly overview. If this got more traction, it'd be a good reason for me to finally study WebAssembly and DevU. I'd love to. Oh, I didn't realize you had your name. So I'm doxing one person. he's going to have to live with it. Jackie will be fine. Oh, because he didn't post anonymously. That's why his icon's there. I'm like, why would it show the icon at all? So that's what we're looking at for next week. It looks like hosting a Minecraft server. Oh, I'm already going to forget. It looks like hosting a Minecraft server, building an app using frameworks, and DDoS attack, which I might take one of these lower voted ones and try to roll it into one of the other lectures if I don't think another one's going to be a full lecture. So that's where we're standing right now. If that doesn't sound great to you, get in there, vote, make suggestions, do your thing. Yeah, I'm really interested in that 220-250 tested now. So Ethan, Ethan and Carl this semester, they have, I did hear about that. It's coming back to me. They have one assignment, but it's not like directly testing your tests. There was some caveat to it where it wasn't quite the same, but it is getting in the right spirit. I forget all the details of it, but that's something I can think about, we can talk about some other time. Okay, let's get into what I want to do today. And I forgot to give the prompt at the beginning of the lecture, but I need another site with a login. What I want to do today is break some front-end stuff. So give me a site with a login so we can play around with it. I want to create an account with an insecure password, bless you, which I shouldn't be able to do, but we're going to at least try. We're going to at least make an attempt at it. And whatever site you give me, hopefully they have some server protection. Actually, hopefully they don't because it'd make a better lecture example. But hopefully they'll have some server-side protection. But I want to, Gmail and YouTube, Google is definitely going to have protection against this. There's no way Google is not ready for me. But yeah, if those are the only two suggestions, yeah, I'll do one of them. And the lecture question today is a little bit different. UB's SSO, actually, that's a good one. But I would have to use, I can't create an account, though, unfortunately. I'd have to go to my password change, and I'd be dangerously close to defense.gov. Yeah, they might not be protected. Any government websites, usually trashy. So let's talk about, I think I do want to do this right now. Let's do it right now. The lecture question. So, oops, that's not the lecture question. Don't submit. That's the 116 lecture question. So before I show it, I almost closed my laptop like this, like it's going to hide it. Before we talk about the lecture question, there was one lecture question all semester. So this is like the last chance that I have to control the whole lecture and the lecture question. Next week, I'll have some questions pertaining to whatever topics y'all vote for. And there's one lecture question all semester that didn't go super duper well that I believe only 10 students got credit for. So I want to do a redo of that lecture question. I'm going to redo that lecture question, so this will count for today's lecture question, and it will make up the last one. So this will effectively be worth 2 lecture questions, unless you got it right the first time. And here it is. Reworded to make sure everybody's clear on what we're supposed to do, because last time there was some confusion. Anything other than A, B, C, D, E, or empty string, and some of you were like, oh, that means I can submit empty string. So this is a lecture question. We're going to have plenty of time to work on it in this lecture, and I want to talk about how to do this. So, of course, if it's not clear enough, F is the correct answer, but F is not a choice on the form. You can't just click F and submit. So we want to modify the front end. Remember when I said don't trust your users? Never trust your users. They can change your front end. They can change everything. So let's do defense.gov. I like that one. That's what you said before. There's no login. So we're at Gmail, YouTube. I can't really do UB's SSO because I'd have to use my actual account. I'm not all about that. I guess Gmail, but Gmail, there's 0% chance that it's actually going to work. New private window. Gmail. I guess I could have typed .com. I want to create an account. First name, fake. Last name, name. Username, super duper fake name for CSE 312. And my password. So we want to inspect element so we can take a look at what's going to happen here. I'm going to choose some password. 8. I'm going to show it. It's all Q's. I'm going to hit next. And it's not going to let me submit that password. So I really want a weak password. What do we want our password to be? How about just 1? Do we like that password? Oh, Twitch. I wish that was suggested earlier. We're too far in now. But Amazon's going to have it covered too. Amazon's not going to make that mistake, this mistake. It'd have to be a kind of a more obscure kind of B tier, C tier website to even have a chance at them making this mistake. Chess.com. We could pivot to chess.com because that's one that could possibly make this mistake. Sign up. Yeah, let's pivot to this one, just because we might be able to get one here. So username, let's get the browser console open. Check out the network. Play it online. I want to sign up. I want to create an account. CSE 312 rules with a Z. Email. I'll use my real email. Why not? They might send me a confirmation that it might be part of the process here. And we want our password to be QWERTY12345. Password should have at least 8 characters, 1 capital letter, 1 number. I'm pretty close. I almost have a valid password here, but not quite. So let's sign up, and it's not going to let me sign up. So it looks like the sign up button's disabled. So what we want to do is get this password in as our password, even though it doesn't meet the criteria. Now, we don't actually want to do this. This is just my example of how we can modify the front end and why you should never trust your users, because they can always do something like this. So my first step, it looks like the button's just disabled. So let's go to the button. I don't know why I can't get right to the button. We can see some hidden values here. So it looks like we have some form of possibly cross-site request forgery tokens. I got a fingerprint, very much probably part of that. And button disabled equals disabled. Let's undisable that. I don't expect this one to work, but this is our first attempt. And we should be able to click the button, sign up, ID, class, button disabled. So there's a button disabled class as well, so let's get rid of that. Sign up input button. And now we can click the button. So let's get back to our network tab, see what fires off here. Let's submit. There's our password. I got to prove I'm human. I don't know if I am. This is tough. Sign up. Okay, so it said it didn't like what I did to the point that it thought I was a bot and gave me a CAPTCHA. So let's figure out a different way. By the way, I don't know if y'all saw what I did, what I saw up here. Where'd it go? Well, let's just do it again. It'll show it again, probably. No. Oh, where was it? Come on, let's Oh, well, I was doing the username. So when I was doing the username, this is probably to check if the username was already used, if it's a valid username. It's actually firing off a request for every character that I type in the username, checking its database and seeing if somebody already has that username is what I'm guessing this is doing. And it's not going to show me the response. I don't know why these preview and response, why is this so often not show me anything? Maybe there actually is no content. Well, in this case, it's because there actually is no content. No, content type, application JSON. Where's my content length? And there's no content length. Yeah, I don't know. There might not be any. It might just be in the headers. 200. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it, though. All right, so what's our next attempt? We want to try to get this password in. So let's go to our sources. The next thing I want to do is try to figure out how it's determining if that password is okay or not, which actually, wait. I'm thinking about this backwards, ain't I? Oh, stop popping up. No, I think this worked. Yeah, no, that worked. Oh, we're already done? Just enabling the button? That wasn't fun. Maybe we will have to do Google also. So we enabled the button. We actually got the request sent off. The request went to the server with that invalid password. So there is a front-end check. There's some JavaScript that's saying whether our password is good or not. But we can always get around the front end. Everything in the front end can be changed. It can be modified. The next step would have been going through the JavaScript and changing the JavaScript function that's checking my password. We didn't even have to go that far. We just enabled the button, and we were able to fire off this password to the server. But the server said no. The server said, you're not allowed to do that. It looks like it sent just the page again. Sent a 200 response with the same content instead of redirecting. Whatever, that's their choice. They're allowed to do that. And then send us back the HTML. So they just said, nah, you can't do that. We're going to redirect you here. But something on their server said, hey, this password doesn't check out. So even though you have some protection, some not protection, so just because you have some features on your front end that's making sure that that password is strong enough, you need to be checking that on your server as well, because the front end can't be trusted. The front end all those checks in the front end are strictly for user experience. Users want to know, hey, how come you're rejecting me? Well, it's going to tell you. Here's some explanation. Here's why we're rejecting your password. It needs to meet these criteria, and it doesn't. That's just strictly for the user experience. So it's unlikely that they send you a password that isn't valid for your server to check. Because if they have to click submit or sign up, and then your server says no, and they have to go round after round, it's just more of a pain. So you have some JavaScript that prevents that. But that can be changed. We barely even had to do anything to change that. We can probably do this with Google too. Let's send the password. And that's not firing. So I can click next, but it's not doing anything. It's not taking me to the next thing. So there's some JavaScript that's preventing me from using that password. So if we want to use JavaScript, we can take a look at this, find where that JavaScript is. There's probably going to be a mess. It has 0 bytes. Where all my JavaScript at? I don't even know where all the JavaScript is. Well, I might have to call that one. All right. I don't want to go through that. We're running up against it on time to do that. Point is, never trust your users. Ever, 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 ever. Don't do it. Don't trust them. They can mess with things. What is this? So you can change whatever you want. That proved enough for the point. All I did was delete some things, but that we were able to change things on the front end. Oh, and by the way, even if you weren't going to change things on the front end, we could always do the same thing in Postman. We can take the request that's sent, go into Postman, and then send that request with Postman instead of using anything on the front end. And we can literally send whatever we want to that server. And we can go to our front end to get our valid cross-site request forgery tokens and everything. We can set our cookies in the Postman request. We can make it look just like it came from the front end. There's nothing you can't do to spoof on the front end. Everything can be spoofed, including sending an answer that isn't one of the valid choices. So to do this, you have to open your developer tools, modify the front end and stuff. But there's a little bit of a trick. Is this even going to apply to anyone today? Maybe not. So this gets trickier if you don't have a laptop, if you only have a phone. I'm still doing the demo anyway. If you only have a phone, it's going to be really tough to do that because I don't have a good lead-in. But it's going to be tougher to do that because you can't just open developer tools on your phone, unfortunately. I don't know why. I don't know why that's just not a feature. But let's do this one time today, or one time this semester. Let me use this thing. All right. So I want to do the same thing on my phone. And I couldn't, for what it's worth, I usually don't do this. I'll just debug on the computer. But last time I did the lecture question, I had a few people come down and say, hey, I only got a phone. Like, what am I even supposed to do here? And I was like, yeah, what are you supposed to do? I just kind of assumed everybody had a phone or had a laptop. So on the phone, it's not by default. Oh, am I ready for this demo? By default, it's not something that you can just do. There's no right-click and go to developer tools. But there is something you can do. I already have it set up. I have to cheat a little bit because I forgot the name of the thing. Bookmarks. Oops. It didn't even work, did it? Oh, yeah, it did. Bookmarks. And let me edit. Because I forget what the name of the thing is called. Oh, my goodness. How am I supposed to scroll over? Can you tell I use my laptop more than my phone by far? Can you tell I'm not used to this? How am I supposed to scroll over if the X button, I keep hitting the X button?
I think you can press and hold the space bar, and then you can move the
All right, I got there. Aruda. So we're going to go to this library. I'm going to stick with Firefox because I couldn't get it working in Chrome, but get out of here. And it's even harder because I can't hold my phone like this. And go to Aruda. Aruda. And let me delete that, by the way. Just so I'm starting from scratch. If you go to Aruda, this is just a GitHub repo. It looks like some enthusiasts or whatever created this open source software. And this is going to give us a way that we can have a browser console in our device. So if you go to the Aruda, there's going to be this JavaScript code. There's going to be this function which is going to download the library and then run it on the current page. So if we run this code, this JavaScript on a page, it's going to download the library, run it, and give us our browser console. But we can't run that without having our browser console already. So what do we do? So there's kind of a hacky workaround. I'm going to copy this into my clipboard and then go into my bookmarks. I'm going to add a bookmark. I'm going to edit. When I add a bookmark, it just assumes I want to add this site, because why wouldn't it? And then name this DevTools. You can name it whatever you want. I will name it DevTools because that makes sense. And then for the URL, I'm going to paste what was in my clipboard, paste that function. So now when I go to this bookmark, it's going to go to that URL, kind of, but it's actually JavaScript that it's running. It's going to run the JavaScript on this page. I feel like this is a hacky workaround, and my guess is why it doesn't work on Chrome is Chrome probably patched this and doesn't let you do this anymore. I feel like it shouldn't be a thing. And then I'm going to go to cc312.com. Should I go all the way to Autolab? I feel like that's cheap if I just show you exactly what to do. And then when we're on the page that we want to hack, we're going to go to our bookmarks and open up that DevTools, and we're going to see an icon. It's probably pretty hard to see there. All my fingerprint smudges. This icon right here, I'm going to click that, and that's going to open our browser tools. So I can have my browser tools on my phone. So now I have a lot of functionality, less so than on the laptop. One big thing that we can't do, so we can select anything we want. For example, I'll select course description. One thing we can do, I'll start with that, is delete elements. So if I want to delete stuff, I just click the X. Parts of my web page just get eaten up. What I can't do, very unfortunately, especially for this lecture question, is edit the HTML. Can't edit the HTML, so this demo goes on. So if we want to change something, let's just pick something to change. I'll have this syllabus say something that's not syllabus. Oh, that's a tough one. Let me actually go to, I'd have to sign in. I'm not signing in. Let me go there on my laptop. I want to make sure I didn't even think of this. If I have any identifiers on the form itself. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing though. It's probably for the better. I don't want to completely give away how to do the thing. The idea is that you have to pay attention. Oh yeah, everyone has an ID. Perfect. So on the form, you can search by ID and find something. So let's find. I gotta have something here with an ID. By the way, this is a good time to say that the presentation schedule is up. If you don't remember your team name, it's common in 312. You submit your team name way early in the semester, and this is the only time you really need to know what your team is. So if you did forget, just send me an email. A few teams have already sent me emails saying, wait, what's our team name? So if you don't know your team name, just send me an email, I'll let you know what it is. So let's grab one of these. Come on. Why isn't it? Oh, because that's floating. Oh, I see. So let's get to one of these. I don't have any IDs, so it's really tough to get an element, especially doing this on my phone. I don't know if I want to do this whole thing. Let's change. I do have an ID. No, that doesn't really help me. My blocks have IDs. Let me just go to a different site that's easier to hack. I don't even see my icon. Never mind, we're going back here. I'll do class, non-visual link. Okay, but anyway, so my point, if I can get there, I don't have a great example, but to use it for. My point is, though, that you can run any JavaScript you want. So you can run JavaScript that's going to find the elements that you want and then use JavaScript to change them. So you can still modify the HTML, but you got to do it through JavaScript. So let's try to do this on a phone, which is going to auto-capitalize, which makes it hard to write code. And I can't quite see. Oh, there we go. Document dot. Oh, and it doesn't have autocomplete. I don't know if I can write code without autocomplete anymore. Get elements by ID. Nope. By class name. Oh, I don't have arrows. And I already forgot the class name that I said. Non-visual link. Non-visual link. I'm going to call that const lms. This is way harder than I thought it would be. Stop it. Const. Yeah, I'll try that next time I want to. Oh, I see what I did there. This is really painful. Press and hold the space bar. I feel like... can I resize this up maybe? I can't see my keyboard and where I'm typing at the same time. This is impossible. Oh, I'm going to do it on my... You get the idea, right? I can't do that torture anymore. I'm going to do it on my desktop or my laptop, but I'll do the same thing that I was going to do. You would do this, but type it on your phone. So let's go to the console. Let's do document dot get elements by class name. Oh my goodness, it's so much faster. Non-visual link. Then I wanted to store that in a variable. Const lms equals, and then for lm of lms. Let's get some links on the page. For lm of lms, lm dot href. Is that a... Can I just do dot href equals? We'll find out. I can't think of anything funnier. I've let you down. So lm dot set. Oh, because the href wouldn't do it anyway. We'll just do set inner HTML. Inner HTML equals. Oh goodness. It's going to make me type it. Where are my non-visual links? What? Non-visual link? I mean, it worked, but where are my... Oh, it's my social media links. So we did change it. A little anticlimactic, but we did change those. So we would do that same thing. You would get an element by ID. Each one of the form elements has an ID, and then change the value of that element to F, and then submit that element that you changed, would be the idea. So you could absolutely do this on a phone. Never trust your users, though. So any questions on this? Is anybody having trouble doing that? What's up? What? You just have to do it. If it's on your phone, you have to do it in JavaScript. You just have to do it. If you submit the correct answer to me, it's good. If you're on a phone, I'm just showing you that you can do it on a phone, but it's more of a pain in the ass to the point that I gave up on it.